Hi guys, welcome to
Hello.
another weekly mesh. I am actually really excited about my tea here.
No, it's not tea, that's beer.
Really?
Yep, so we're back in the UK where Paul was visiting Cheshire Brewhouse. Yep.
Cheshire.
And we're just getting into the British
Into the whole spirit.
spirit, yeah.
You need to drink it like this as well.
Yeah, sure. And so what are they talking about there?
We're talking about pale ales
Okay.
and how to get your perfect pale ale in terms of the
King
yeast,
it.
hops and everything like that. So if you're
Yeah.
into your pale ales, this episode is definitely
Yeah, and they
for
do
you.
know how to make their beer.
They do.
So let's see what they have to say. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, we're here today with Shane. We're at the Cheshire Brewhouse, which is a fantastic brewery just based in the middle of Cheshire. And we're going to be talking to Shane a little bit today about how to brew a pale ale, because this brewery focuses on sort of British style ales and beers. So in terms of the pale ales, I know Cheshire Gap is your sort of one of your core range, which is an English pale ale. So in terms of the grain bill for that, what is it that you use?
We just use two grains. We use crisp pale malt, and we use Munich malt.
Okay.
Now, I do actually use Viaman for the Munich.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I use Viaman is I find it a little bit lighter in colour.
Okay.
I use Munich 1, and it's just slightly lighter in colour, but you still get the full Munich flavour. I've tried a number of British Munich suppliers, and I just find you get a little bit more high colour than the German. So I'd love to use an English supplier, but it's one of those. But for all the base malts and all of the specialty malts, we use crisp malting. In North, I found those to be the most consistent up to now.
Okay, brilliant, fantastic. And in terms of the hops, is there 100% British hops that you go for?
Yeah, well, we use. We either use Pilgrim or Magnum, depending on what we've got at the time. I've used both of them. I find Magnum a little bit cleaner. I was using US Magnum for a while because I just found that I got a much cleaner bitterness.
Yeah.
But I have used Pilgrim, but we're back on Magnum at the moment. We're using German Magnum for bittering, just because it gives a very clean, rounded bitterness. I find with some of the beers I use Target for bittering, so the darker beers and DVA we use Target for bittering on there because it gives more traditional English bittering. But I find with Cheshire Gap, I want a traditional but contemporary. Just gives it a little bit clean. You don't notice the bittering hop there, but you get a nice clean bittering with it.
Okay. What are the hopping schedules like for Cheshire Gap?
We use a first water addition.
Yeah.
So when we put into the copper, when we get to about here, we put a Magnum charge in for a 500 barrel brew. A 5 barrel brew, 800 litres. We use just under 600 grams of Magnum for bittering. And that gives us about 28 IBU of bittering. Works really well. And like I say, I use a bittering hop that isn't going to show much presence, so very low cohumol, which is, like I say, one of the reasons we use Magnum. One of the things I found with Pilgrim's got it's called selenium. It's the same compound you get in celery. So if you notice the bite you get with cooked celery, if you ever anything, I noticed a little hint of that, which is why I went back to the Magnum. But not many people have noticed it.
Okay.
But that sort of thing. And then we have a 20-minute edition where we use an English hop called Boadicea.
Yeah.
And then at Flame Out we have a big edition of East Kent Goldings and Boadicea mixed.
Okay.
A little bit more East Kent Goldings than the Boadicea.
Okay.
And that seems to work very well.
Okay. Any dry hopping?
No dry hopping.
No dry hopping.
No need to. We've just changed the brew house over. On the old brew house, I had a hop back where everything ran through a hot back. So rather than flying out into the top of the copper at a 150 litre hot back and run everything through that, I've actually found with this copper that I've not had a need for a hot back up to now, and the beer hasn't changed, but that might change.
Okay.
So we're changing the brew house all the time, so
yeah,
there could be, but no dry hopping.
Okay, brilliant. And in terms of a water profile for a sort of traditional English pale ale, what are you looking for in your water makeup?
Basically, you want a good hard water for an English pale ale. I hope one of my signatures, a lot of people tell me, and I think it is one of the signatures of my beers, that I'll try and make balanced beer.
Yeah.
So if we've got a nice hit of bitterness in there, I like to balance it out with malt. One of the reasons I like to use Munich, because you get a little bit of a malty backbone with it. So we go for a hard water profile. Now in this area, we've got very soft water.
Okay.
My water comes from about 8 to 9 miles away over the hill, a place called Hug Bridge. There's boreholes next to the River Dane, which runs outside the brewery. Right. And it's taken out, it's treated there, sent up to a reservoir on top of the Cloud, which is a big hill just outside the town, 3 miles that way, and then it's fed down. So the water here is very high water pressure, but it's very soft water, but there's quite a high bicarbonate level in it.
Okay.
And there's quite a lot of salt in the water as well, from around. So we don't have to add a lot of salt, but we add calcium, a little bit of magnesium sulfate, and a little bit of calcium chloride, and that's about it really. But it's generally a balanced pale profile.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Now I know you've got your own house yeast strain that you could use for brewing. But for home brewers, what should they be what sort of characteristics should they be looking for from their yeast strain? Would it be something neutral, or would you be looking for something that would give some flavour contribution?
Well, yeast choice is pretty much, it's very individual to the brewer, depending on what you want to get at the end. But it's the most important choice you could ever have. Yeast contributes 85% of the flavour, aroma, all the profile of finished beer. Yeah. So you can get whatever recipe of beer you want. What yeast you choose to put in that beer, it's paramount to what you get at the end.
Yeah.
So for an English pale ale, for stuff off the shelf, SO4 will do okay, but you'll struggle to get it down much below 10-12. I mean, for Cheshire Gap we can get down to 10-6. Finishing gravity on that. Okay. Some people can get SO4 down, but generally it doesn't go much below 10-10. So you're going to end up with quite a bit of body left in the beer. Nottingham will do this. Will do the job for you, but the problem with Nottingham is it'll rob a lot of the hop flavour. Nottingham's it'll rob bitterness and it'll also rob flavour out of the beer. So I tend to find that Nottingham ale yeast gives a lot of very much the same flavour. It's got its stamp. Right. But that's the thing you'll find with yeast. That's what I say, 85%. It depends on yeast. Fuller's yeast is pretty good. Yeah. WLP 002, I think, off the top of my head. Okay. That works really well. You can also use like a Cal Ale WLP 001 or USO5 and dried. The thing with USO5, it's a pig for clearing. Okay. I know there's a lot of other ones on the market, but I've not really kept up with them.
So I think experimentation is a key, and that's what you can do as a home brewer. Try different things on a smaller scale.
But yeast it definitely is paramount. Yeah. People need to take more, look at yeast more and experiment more. Yeah. The best thing I can suggest anybody does is if they get a batch, make as big a batch as possible and split it up into smaller amounts and pitch yeast into each one. Okay. I've done that. I made a 150 litre batch, and I got six. I got 6 25 litre buckets. Yeah. And pitched each one with a different yeast. I've got totally different beer on each one. It was really interesting thing to do, and it's something I recommend. And anybody that possibly can do it.
Yeah. Okay, that's a great bit of advice. Now, another thing that I know you do that I know a lot of home brewers do as well is bottle condition their beers. Yeah. Could you just explain a little bit about your process for doing that?
Well, I'm big for bottle conditioning beer. I don't like sterile filtered beer in most cases. Some sterile filtered beers I quite like, but I don't think you get the same flavour or aroma or mouthfeel of that. So you're better off bottle conditioning. But what we do here is we ferment the beer out as per normal.
Yep.
We then we crash cool. Now not a lot of home brewers don't crash cool, but you can do quite easily.
Yeah.
Put the lid on, stick it in the fridge, get it down to about 10 degrees. Separate. Once you've got that, skim the top if you've got a highly flocculent top fermenting yeast, or if it drops to the bottom like SO4 does, take the beer off it then into. What I then do is I cask the beer and I let it sit for 2 or 3 days. Now my yeast falls out very very readily.
Yeah.
It's good at separating. Some of the homebrew strains can take a few weeks. So, but anyway, I put it in another container for a while, and no gas out or anything because it's in a full cask. There's no oxygen. But if you've got yeast suspended in the beer anyway, you don't really have to worry about oxygen too much anyway because it's not going to really affect it. But when they come to bottle it, get it as clear as you can.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be gin, but my beers, you'd hold it or you wouldn't. You know, when we bottle it, it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Prime it.
Yeah.
And then bottle it straight away.
Do you just prime it with sugar?
Well, what we do, we get the cask and we work out what the correct priming amount is for our beer for that cask. All depends on bottling temperature. So measure the temperature of the beer and then work out how much CO2 is likely to be dissolved in it, and then work out the correct amount of sugar. Just white sugar, boiling water, mix, and then pour it straight in. We don't worry about cooling it down or anything because obviously we're doing 40 litres at a time. Yeah. You're only looking at about 200ml maximum of sugar solution, if that.
Okay.
And whack that in, it cools straight away. But the thing is, you don't want the beer really cold when you're bottling it. If you've got the beer at about 4 degrees in the fridge and you put sugar solution in, the sugar solution's got a much higher viscosity than the beer. And what will happen, you'll get thermal shock and the sugar solution will just sink to the bottom.
So it won't mix properly.
You won't get a homogeneous mix. Yeah. So it'll sink to the bottom and you'll bottle away and then you'll get 5 or 10 bottle bombs and 30 flat beers. Yeah. So you need to make sure that when you bottle in the beer, you want it at about 18 to 20 degrees. You want it warm. And then it will mix much more homogeneously. Yeah. But try and get the beer off most of the yeast and then add your sugar solution. Okay. And then bottle.
Brilliant. No, thanks for that, Shane. That was some really great advice for brewing a pale ale, so thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Cheers.
Awesome. Wow. I think I would definitely need to make this a daily occurrence.
Daily. The beer?
Yeah.
But you already do.
No, I don't.
Well, when I see her, she has a beer.
Well, that is, it's very healthy.
It's life. No, but yeah, great video. Good talk about the bottle conditioning. I really enjoyed that, and it's really good to see how I'd say brewer, commercial brewer like this makes their pale ale and the different techniques they use, and
exactly.
You can take some of those techniques and try it yourself.
Yeah.
And see what you come up with. So
it's good to see how their take on pale ale, and it's good to
what
sort of compare different sort of types of takes on it.
Because it's such a big pale ale, such a wide variety. So yeah.
Exactly.
No.
Good work. It's awesome.
Let's go drink more.
Okay. Cool.
Cheers.
Cheers.